five, we gonna break the stigma. Do it for the culture, they think it's an enigma. Break the connotation, arts and entertainment. Show the variation, from acting to a painting. Let's go into the depths of your craft. Let's go behind the scenes. What's your inspiration? The lines that's in between. I'ma throw a question, you gon' give an answer. We gon' get to laughing. Trust me, it's a pleasure. Change the generation, become an inspiration. Where did you begin? Do you want to be famous? You rise in your career. Your destiny is near. Go ahead and take five. A blessing will appear. Take five, 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 take five.
Well, hello, Mrs. Jefferies. How you doing?
Good.
Good. This is Take 5 Interviews. You are officially the first Take 5 interview artist ever. And I personally wanted to choose you because ever since you casted me for your show, Nigger Examination of Otherness, you've been like a rising star in my eyes. Like, for real, like, no sugarcoating. Like, you really do stuff for the black culture and for the youth especially. You make our voices heard. You don't like dim yourself. You don't dim yourself because of your youth. You don't allow the other leaders say you don't know what you're talking about. You listen to their perspective, you respect it, and you give your perspective. And they do nothing but respect it. They have no other choice but to. So you are the first artist here, and I have a couple of questions that I want to arise to you. So if you don't mind, tell me about yourself.
Okay. My name is Korinn Annette Jefferies. I'm a playwright. I have a background in acting and musical theater. I'm a Pisces. My favorite color is green. Yeah.
I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo, so I make green.
Yeah, I love green. It's pretty. It's like color of nature, like leaves and stuff.
And
like
mucus.
Okay. I mean, if you're sick, I guess.
No, stop. All right. Let's dig into these right now. Pulling them up right here. Our first question at you. When did you make the conscious decision to be a professional artist?
I made the conscious decision when I was deciding to go to college for it. I've been in a theater program at my high school for a very long time. Everyone told me I couldn't act. They told me I couldn't act, and I was in the choral department. They told me I couldn't sing.
That's me.
And yeah, it is. And I was never cast in anything. I think I was cast in 2 shows my senior year in community theater, and both of those I felt like I was really letting the director down because I didn't have that training, even though I was going to school for it, and like I was taking theater class every semester. I wasn't in a show, so I didn't know how to operate in that setting. Yeah, and so it was really hard, and everyone was telling me I couldn't do it. And then my senior year, I auditioned for Howard's musical theater program, and I got in, and I was like, okay, you got to commit. Like, it's no backups at this point. You got to put it all in.
Everybody kept getting there, so that must have showed you right there that you got that oomph.
You know, I was able to like look at all my high school teachers, like, and what, you know? So it was good.
Yeah. All right, well, I respect that. I like that. You overcame those odds. I know they looking back at themselves, dang, I should have cast her, but it's too late.
Yep.
It's too late.
It's too late because now it's hard to get me on the stage.
I'll rub it in their faces. I'll be cocky about it too. I'll be cocky, but you know, I respect that. Next question, do you have a specific audience in mind that you try to, promote or perform your productions in front of?
I definitely do. I really want to make my art about being in the Black community and for the Black community. I know that if you go to, an example, I went to New York a couple years ago. It was like right after I worked at Disney. I've been around a whole bunch of white people. I was just like ready to be around my people. There was a free concert in Schubert Alley, which is like the Broadway alley, and I remember being there. It's free. I'm expecting to see a lot of people there. There were no people of color. It was a whole bunch of. You were there?
No, I said free. It's always good.
I didn't see any other Black people except for the security. I was like, I was so taken aback by it. And then the last performance was, oh gosh, I think it was The Color Purple, and the cast of The Color Purple came out and sang, and Heather Headley was out there. and she sang and she dropped the mic, and it was crazy, and I was so excited. But by the time they came out there, like, all the white people had left. Like, they had all dispersed because that was the last performance. And it just broke my heart because I'm thinking, this is a free show. Like, we should be out here supporting, and we're not. And it's, one, because we didn't know about it. Two, because it's in, like, the rich part of New York. Like, you go to see Broadway. So it's just like, it made things, like, made me really put things into perspective of, like, how can I do things for my community? And then I worked with Jumpstart for AmeriCorps for a while, and I wouldn't say it's like an impoverished neighborhood, but it was mostly Black and brown children. And just thinking about how I can incorporate theater in teaching them, and how I can instill a love for theater in them at a young age, as opposed to just like, oh, well, when you get up, if you have enough money, or when you grow up, if you have enough money, you can come see this Broadway show. It's not limited to Broadway. It's so many other avenues that you can take. It's about making theater accessible in terms of where it's located, how much it costs, and who's involved in it, as well as subject matter. People don't want to go see stuff on Broadway. It's just them getting beat and broken down all the time. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't take into consideration.
Well, like your aspect on that, like the different, what is it, avenues that you want to give out there for people to be accessible to theater. Like, they're trying to invest in the arts more. They need to do that in schools and show people that you just don't need to invest in sports programs or the popular programs. Usually are the sports programs, athletic programs. So, me being an actor myself, you really need to start investing in the arts more, because the arts is a heavy influence, especially for the younger generation, whether it's music or acting or dance. And I always find it crazy how they don't want to invest in a field that influences our generation the most. They want to invest in sports more. And I'm like, there's nothing against sports, because sports influences but so much. Sports influences the world, but when it comes to like mental aspect, like the trends, the waves, arts, music, dance, theater, and other types of arts and entertainment fields, they really influence our generation, especially individuals that were born in the 90s and now. And I always wonder why they don't invest in the arts more. So I really respect the fact that you want to make them more accessible to everybody. All right, the next question I have for you is, throughout the years, have your audience changed? Like, has it changed?
I don't think so. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X my freshman year of high school, and I was all about like, okay, it's for Black people, like point blank period. I know a lot of the reasons I was turned down of roles in my high school career is because they said there weren't roles for Black women of my stature. You know, I was a little bit bigger than I am now, and it was like, okay, well, we want you to play the mammy role. Okay, but that's not my character. That's, honestly, if you typecast me as that just for my body type, you're just not going to get that from me, because that's not who I am. I mean, I'm a very nurturing person, but I don't have that, like, good old Southern flair. That's not me. Especially, like, as a high schooler, that's definitely not me. So it was just like, I know what it's like to be in those positions. So I just want to make sure that the people that I work with and people that are in my circle never have to feel like that.
Definitely. I understand. I hate typecasting so much, especially when it's not even in the favor of the actor. They just pick you because of how you look. They can care less about the talent. It takes away from people that are talented than others. And it sometimes knocks people out of the field. It makes them not want to act anymore, because if one director does them that way, some people aren't as mentally strong as others. And if one director traumatizes one actor, it can keep them from progressing. And a lot of directors could care less, because they're going to have a new actor come in, a new actress come in no matter what. And they don't really look in the mirror until somebody really calls them out about it. So I really hate the typecasting goes on in high schools and colleges, because they want you to play roles that you're never going to be in, or they want you, even if it's a role that you're never going to be in, at least have it be a role that's at least near your age. Right. They want you to play a role that you can only act but so good playing an old person, whether you're a man or a woman. You can only do it so much. And not only your acting ability doesn't even have to do with you just being able to act. You got to be able to like have your voice sound like that, and then the makeup, And I'm like, I can only do it so much. They only have me playing characters from like 18 to 26. What's the age range that you usually are casted in?
When I was in high school, oh well, let me not answer that because, like I said before, I won't really cast that much. They would want to put me in stuff, but then like I wouldn't rise to the occasion. I guess I know I was cast as a dog in something. I was like a dog reporter. I don't think I had an age. I was 17 at the time. I was cast as this little black Irish girl named Bridget.
Bridget?
Bridget.
I've never heard that name before.
Well, it's like a folk story in Ireland, but I was cast as that, and I was supposed to be, I guess, 13, 14 at the time. Again, 17. And those are the two roles that I really had in high school. I think like for classroom stuff, it was always either the mammy role or it would be something that's hypersexualized. And then that is two completely different age ranges where it's like, okay, play 60 over here and then play like 27. It's like 17. I'll do my best. I don't know what it's like to be 27 and I don't know what it's like to be 60, but I will
probably play 27 better than you would be able to play 60. Anybody can play, around our age, anybody can play 27 better than 60. If you're thinking 60, you just don't mimic what your grandmother does.
Right.
That's like what I do.
Even with that role, I remember because it was Brooke in Noises Off. And she's like the dumb one. And so, I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's really easy to play those roles. And that's why it was kind of just like, oh, okay, well, little black girl, we don't got nothing else for you. You can't play these other dynamic roles that have like a character arc because that's, for the white kids. So you go ahead and play this one and we just will let you do whatever. That's really what it felt like.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Me personally, I've been through that type of stuff. When I was coming up acting, I was always given like the villain. Mm-hmm. And I feel as if that was typecast. I was like, is it because I'm like the bigger guy in the department? Like, is it because I'm like big black man, I'm getting the villain role? I never got the good guy role. I always I remember this, Southeast Raleigh Magnet High School. That's the school I went to and graduated from in Raleigh, North Carolina. And Christmas Carol came and there was auditions. I didn't even bother to ask the director, Zachary Roberts, he's like a third father to me. Like, he started my acting career. But I didn't even bother to ask him what role I was going to receive because I already knew what I was going to get. I was going to get the future ghost. I knew this, and he knew this. So I just said, Mr. Roberts, when we had the first rehearsal, just give me the script, I already knew I was going to get the future ghost. I didn't even look at the call board. That's how much I knew I was going to get that role. So it's really typecast. And the crazy thing is, until you really make that connection, not even with you specifically, just actors in general, until you make that connection with a director or a playwright, until you show your versatility with your acting, you're going to get typecast until you show, what is it? What can I say? Until you show like your versatility. This is either you can get typecast or just don't take the role. And I got to the point where if I'm about to get typecast and I know they don't even care about my acting ability, they just think I look the part, I'm not going to do it. Because you just basically, it was a waste of an audition. You just one of the 6'4" black man to stand in the background, play a drug dealer or play a security guard. Like, of course I can get that. No, I want you to see me for how I can act. If I didn't get the role because I didn't meet the standards that you wanted, I can understand that. But don't give me the role because I look the part. I hate when somebody says you look the part. That means you just totally, I shouldn't even did my monologue for the audition. I should just came in with an outfit that, the attire that you were looking for that was put into the, put into the notifications. But let me calm down before I get riled up. All right, next question. What is your next project you're working on?
The next project I'm working on is about the integration of public beaches in the 1960s. So it's called The Water, and it's just about that process and wade-ins and that sort of thing in Florida. So it should be quite interesting. I'm very excited about it. It's my first time doing a historical piece, and I think it will be very interesting, exciting. I like research, so that part was really fun. So now it's just a matter of trying to figure out how I can maintain my style and write this historical, almost narrative type piece.
That is awesome. This is a perfect time in like time and day and age to do that, especially with all this racial tension that's arising. It's always been here, but it's really been arising since the Trayvon Martin shooting. It's just taking off like a steeplechase.
Right.
So.
And one other thing, like, I'm really excited about it because there's so many times we hear these integration stories where it's like, oh, we want stuff like schools and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, but we don't really take into consideration the luxury of going to the beach and how that's like a human right just because it's public land, and how they've literally said, okay, well, like at this part of the water, you can't go past. It's the water.
You don't own the water?
You know? And so I just think it'll be an interesting story to tell, and it won't be so much focused on struggle as opposed to like our right to just exist and have the things that other people have in terms of like leisure. Because it's not all about like sitting at a lunch counter. There's other stuff too.
I see exactly what you mean. Well, I can't wait to see that production. Hopefully, someone can be casted.
Well, yeah, we got some. It's a cast of 6, and we do. Again, we have a male part that is older. I won't say older. He's in his 20s, and then we have 2 male parts that are young boys. So I'm also excited about that because be able to get the youth involved.
Yes,
and I
indeed.
think it'll be fun.
I'll tell you this though, when it comes to the acting business, the younger ones be the most cockiest. And I realized this face first. I always tell people this. Before I started realizing about certain things, I auditioned for John Casablancas. Regret it to this day.
Yes,
But I remember this little girl came up to me. I was fresh out of high school, had the afro, the Temptation afro and everything. Regret it to this day. I was sitting in the audition room, and a young Caucasian girl came up to me. I forgot her name, but I remember her face. To this day, I remember her face. All the moms of the kids were sitting in the back, just like talking, eating finger sandwiches and stuff. I didn't know nobody. I was like one of the only 3 black people in there. I was the only black man in there. So a young white girl came up to me, looked like she was like 8, 7, 8, came up to me and like sat beside me, started swinging her feet underneath the chair. Kept looking at me, looking down. I'm like, are you okay? Like, I was like, okay. So I was like, how you doing? She's like, hey. I was like, what's your name? I forgot her name, but she asked me my name. I was like, my name is Deandre Sanders. Then she just out of the blue asked me, how many commercials are you in? I was like, this is my first time of days, and see, I haven't been in none. She was like, oh, I've done 12. I felt so embarrassed because the moms were looking and they were laughing at me. And to this day, I always tell myself, I'm gonna get that little girl back. I'm gonna get her back. I'm gonna become big, and I'm gonna be like, how many movies have you been in? How many TV shows have you done? I remember her face like it was yesterday, but yeah, little kids are cockies. Little kids are cockies. Next question. Is there any specific situation that has occurred in your personal life that is in your play, Nigger, exclamation point, that inspired or influenced any character or scene that's in the production?
Yes, actually a lot of them. The conference scene that happened to me, I got in trouble for reading books in class. My teacher was like, she's reading books out of the young adult fiction section. Now, if I were a teacher now, I would have a talk with the child first. I'd be like, girl, you don't need to be reading this. This is a little advanced. But if the child told me like, hey girl, I like reading, and I've read all the books in the children's section. I'm not reading picture books anymore. I've read the whole Spiderwick Chronicles, a series of unfortunate events, and Geronimo Stilton.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
I'm ready to move on to these advanced books with this language and this subject matter. Yes. I have the brain to do it. So that was one. I'm trying to think of the bathroom scene. I have white people come up to me all the time trying to touch my hair. I usually wear my hair in yarn braids for a month, every 3 months or so. And when I have them in, everybody always wants to go, oh my God, this is yarn? And it's man. Yeah, and it's still my hair, so stop touching it.
It would have been known it was me.
It's always little stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of the things that have happened in the play, or that do happen in the play, have happened in my life. If they haven't happened in my life, they've happened in the life of someone close to me. I know when I was younger, a lot of stuff happened to me while I was in school. A lot of it was by my teachers. The hair scene, you know, I wasn't the little girl with the beast that needed to be tamed, but I was the little girl hearing other black women talk about this little girl's hair and telling her that she looks like a beast, but also making it seem like she has good hair. Yeah, she has good hair, whereas to me, sitting over here with my naps, I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess I don't, you know, I don't really think I'm a quarter Cherokee. Don't got not a whole lot of white in me either, so I don't really know how I compare in those situations. So yeah, a lot of it is my life.
Oh man, I am so sorry that you had to go through instances like that. I feel
okay. I write a play about it. It's fine.
It's interesting. It's interesting hearing about these experiences that you went through, because me being a black man, I wouldn't know what it's like growing up being a black woman, and vice versa. And it's interesting seeing the struggles and the stereotypical situations that we all have gone through. Like, I feel like everybody experiences racism, but we don't really acknowledge it in our brains until like maybe like high school, because growing up, your brain is formulating, like you might think about that stuff, but it's like I didn't deal with racism coming up. Even though I went to white school before they gentrified our area and they started making people go to the schools that's in your area. I didn't really deal with racism because I was just trying to make friends.
And see, I was hyper aware of it. I went to a white elementary school, and I knew from like kindergarten when people were being racist towards me. I was very aware of it. My parents did a really good job of like telling me about my past so that I was able to identify it when it was happening. I got in trouble for everything. Because I remember we read a book in class, it was Stuart Little, and I got in trouble because I said Stuart Little was pissed off. I couldn't go to recess that day. I'm in AG reading, and I get in trouble because I say Stuart Little is pissed off. And it was like stuff like that where it's like, y'all know good and well what I meant. I did not know that was a bad word. I told you I didn't know that it was
pissed
a bad
off?
word.
You get kicked for saying pissed off. Pissed? Piss it's a synonym,
and it's
man.
not like I'm using it the way the white people use it. You know, white people use pissed off or use the word piss, and it sounds terrible. It's like, it's yucky. But I would say Stuart Little was upset, and I think I should have been able to go outside that day. I don't understand why.
I did. You could have started it because you could have started a riot over that thing.
You know,
let my baby go to recess. Like that's how it would have been. All right, we're getting in the time. I want to ask you one more question before I give it to DJ Thespian for him to, hit the ones and twos. What advice would you give young playwrights or young black women, not even black women, the black culture, on just advice on anything? What would you give?
Okay, that's a big question. I would say first, stay black. Yeah, and then, I don't know, just don't let anyone try to define your blackness. I think that's something that I struggled a lot with as an artist and just as a person, with people either telling me I'm not black enough or I'm not, an example, with the use of the word nigger, and people telling us, okay, well, you're not standing up for your people because you use that word. You're not reaching back and doing the work because you use that word. And I don't want anyone to feel like part of them is invalidated. Well, part of them as black people is invalidated because of something else that they do. You're still black, you still matter, and you're still valid. So.
Well, at the end of the user spoken word, I'm going to give you some snaps to that.
Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure, Korinn, to have you as the first artist on Take 5 interviews.
Yes.
And would you like to say something to the camera, like a what is it, like a quote, your statement, like, you go, girl.
Sure. I'm going to quote W.E.B. Du Bois, all art is propaganda and ever must be, despite the wailing of purists.
Well, that's it right there. This is Take 5 Interviews. I'm Deandre Sanders, and as usual, we are going to break the stick.
But yes, I'm very excited to you guys. So I want to do next is I want to do Cameron's monologue, then I want to do Dana's monologue, and then I would like to run see how much we can get done before we get to go into our.
Gosh, it's my diary.
Yeah, it's 12:03.
Korinn trying to prepare food for the day.
Right. How's she gonna divide it?
Okay. Take five.